So if I come to the Byton Genesis file, you will recognize some of the parameters. This is the AVVM distribution, that's automatic vending machine. So that is the PayPal that actually participated in the initial coin offering. Then we have the block version data, which is what we currently know as protocol parameters, at least what was active for that time, and for the original Cardano cell implementation. And then when we transitioned to OBFT, we discarded many of these parameters. We didn't use it anymore. And you might recognize that heavy delegation threshold is no longer used. It was only used by the SL implementation. Block size, yes, we use it. Header size, yes, we use it. Proposal size, no longer used. Maximum transaction size, yes, we use it. MPC threshold, no longer used. Script version, no longer used. Slot duration, yes, but with a different value. And salt fork rule, during the OBFT era, this was basically repurposed. This salt fork rule has to do with the update proposals, but during the OBFT era, this mean threshold was used as a proxy for the quorum. So it was like the proportion of the keys that had to sign or have to vote for an update proposal for it to be adopted. So it was like the 60% of the keys had to vote for that. So it has now evolved into the quorum parameter that we just explored earlier. It was also deprecated, not used. Transaction policy, yes, of course. You might recall that we have the two parts, the fixed part and the multiplier. There is the variable part that is grows with the size of the transaction. Then we have update implicit is one of those other parameters that is no longer used, but at some point it was repurposed. From the transition from the SL implementation to the OBFT era, we repurposed this parameter. Originally, it was meant for having like if there were not sufficient keys voting for an update proposal, it was automatically adopted after this many slots, or after but basically we changed that. We reinterpreted this, and it became the TTL, the time to live for the update proposal in the OBFT implementation. So, and we are going to be using that later when we create our local cluster. We'll be leveraging this protocol parameter even when it is no longer used in Shelly and later eras. Then we have also deprecated these other two parameters. K still exists, the protocol magic exists. This was the verifiable secret sharing certificate, and this parameter for that is no longer used, no worries about it. And you may ask what it is. Well, this is like the 7 Genesis keys. This is the hashes of the 7 Genesis keys that Emurgo, Cardano Foundation, and IOHK hold. And as I think we have seen before, these Genesis keys do not act on their own, or they not act directly, but instead they act via a delegation certificate to a delegate key. And this is what is mapped here. We have the heavy delegation, so we have like the hash of the Genesis key, the delegation certificate, the delegate public key, the issuer public key, and the omega is the epoch since when this delegation is active. So it was epoch 0. And BSS certificate is something that is no longer used, so it was also deprecated during the OBFT era. So this is the Byton Genesis file. If we go back here, you can see that we have a nice command over here that gives us the hash of the Genesis file, and it is 5F20DF93358 whatever EBB, ends on EBB, and this is the hash of that file. That's totally nice. And we can do the same for the Shelly Genesis file. So let's explore that. This time the protocol parameters are more similar to what we have explored before. The naming might have changed a little to make more sense, to be more descriptive, like Emax is the number of epochs for retiring a stake pool. But Emax was not that descriptive, so it has changed and stuff like that. But it is mostly what we have just talked about earlier. And some parameters have just been updated, like the block body size and perhaps some other, like the number of optimal of desired stake pools. And right now is 500, and probably only those parameters. Yeah, well, yeah, probably only those parameters have changed. Now, of course, the decentralization parameter has 0, and then it's deprecated. So, but now it is way more familiar to us with what we just described before. And finally, of course, we also have a mechanism for hashing this file. So we have this command, which is Cardano CLI Genesis hash -- Genesis, and it is the Shelly Genesis file, and the hash is this one, and then in 6081, there it is. And now we go to the Alonso Genesis file as well, and it contains some other protocol parameters that we are now familiar with that have to do with the execution of Plutus scripts, including the cost model, the collateral input, etc. So we are now familiar with this, and of course we also have means to getting the hash of the Alonso Genesis file, which is exactly the same command, but we pass as an argument in this flag, in this option, the Alonso Genesis file, and we get the hash, and it ends in D874, and that's great because if you explore the node configuration file, and you can have it, by the way, you can have it in YAML or in JSON as it is in the official releases here. Well, sometimes I really like more YAML just because it accepts comments, and sometimes comments are very useful. And so, well, apart from that, you open the configuration file, and it has basically 3 sections. Number 1, it is like referencing the Genesis files. We have the hash of the 3 files and the name of the files that we're going to use. As a very important part of this configuration file. In this other section, we configure the tracers for our node. So basically what we configure that is we turn on or off some tracers, and that will have an impact on whether we log and trace a particular part of activities of our node. And finally, we can configure the logging and the tracing itself. So the node carries 2 web services with it, so AKG and Prometheus, where you can basically export metrics to Prometheus, and from there to something like Grafana, and use that to monitor your node. And then, of course, you also have the means to configure the logging and how often you want to rotate your files and that kind of stuff. So this is what the configuration file is for. And note that I'm not gonna deep dive into this particular configuration file because I want to save that for later, because we will have a section where we will explore the new tracing system that is just about to be released, and with the release of the new tracing system, this one will be obsolete. So I don't want to waste time with this tracing system. Finally, we have the topology file. And the topology file is a very simple one. It's basically a means to tell your node to which other nodes in the network you want to connect to. This is a classic topology file. Later in the course, we will explore the P2P topology file. So this is it, guys. Thank you very much. It was somehow of a long video, but I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. And if it was, well, thank you very much for watching. Apologies for the length. And see you in the next video where we will talk about Cardano governance. See you there.